Mr. Secretary, before we get into your new job, let's talk about one more priority of yours as the Secretary of the Department of Children and Family, or Families, I think it is, and that is adoption. I know that you would like to see as many foster children as possible in this state adopted, and you've been working on that. Talk a little bit about how it's been going.
Well, it's going well. We're making progress, but this is where we need the communities and the people of Florida to really help us in our mission. We have 20,000 children in foster care. On any given day, we have about 800 or so children up for adoption. Last year, we processed 3,000 adoptions. So that's 3,000 kids that, in essence, we were able to get out of foster care and be given a forever family to live with. And that's, to me, one of the most aggressive initiatives that we have to do, because as you know, being a parent, the years that a child sets in foster care when they're not with a family are some of the most formative years. And so when we have that situation where a child is now available for adoption, we really need to find parents very quickly. My wife has gotten very involved across the state promoting adoptions and really also promoting foster parents and good quality families who are willing to invest their lives in helping kids.
Well, I understand that you and your wife had a lot of children come into your home, right. Not as foster children, but children that really didn't have much of any place to go, and they stayed in your home for some period of time, and that touched both of you.
It really did. I mean, that was probably the key event that triggered our desire to take on this challenge and to work in this role was, how we saw children's lives impacted both negatively when they are languishing in foster care, and positively when you can connect a child to a new family who wants to invest in a kid. And these parents are all over the state, and we just need to find the connection points.
One last question on this, Mr. Secretary. Make your pitch to somebody who's watching this show right now as to why they should consider adopting someone in the foster care program.
Well, I mean, we're lucky to live in Florida. It's one of the greatest states in this country with the weather and the economy, and we're all blessed. And when you're blessed with all these great attributes and opportunities in life, I think we all have an obligation to give back. And I don't know of many other situations where you can get the return on your investment versus investing in the life of a child.
Well, let's move on to another huge job you've just been given. And nobody's talking about replacing you as Secretary. And you've just been appointed by Governor Scott as Chief Operating Officer for state government. What does he want you to accomplish? What did he say to you?
Well, what we talked about was, there's a series of opportunities to really run our state more like a business. And obviously, state government is not a business, and we should never consider that it is. But there is just a series of tried and true best practices that exist in the business world that this state could adopt that could dramatically improve the efficiency of how we run our business. And we've implemented some of those ideas in DCF already, and so some of the concepts are about how do we implement those on the larger enterprise. And the other part is recognizing that we are an enterprise. We are organized by agency, which is the right way to do it. But there's so many opportunities where we can look across the enterprise as a whole, and when you are able to implement those kind of programs, then you in essence get the opportunity to have all ships rise by increasing the productivity around the organization.
You said that we know that state government is not a business, but there are many aspects of it that could be looked at from a business perspective. But how would you compare the role of Chief Operations Officer for state government to the same role, let's say, in a large corporation? Are there differences?
Well, definitely this is going to be very different. You know, one is I'm a part-time job in the role, but you know, we're defining this as not a role that I'm in essence trying to run the enterprise. That's not what we're trying to do in the COO role. What we're really trying to do is identify ways to increase the productivity of all the agencies collectively. And the way that will be done in essence is, you know, every agency head will take on some additional responsibilities to make this happen. You know, I reflect back in you know, in our business when we sit around the boardroom of running the company. You know, we all had our P&L responsibilities that we were supposed to deliver, profit and loss, profit and loss in terms of what we were supposed to do in the company. But the boss always had a series of initiatives, and we were all signing up to work on those initiatives too. And that's sort of how I see this working. Is every agency head, you know, we all have our responsibilities, but you know, you really drive dramatic improvement in an organization when you change the silos, individual silos of management into an integrated team. And so teamwork is going to be so important to make these enterprise initiatives really take off.
So the governor's going to say to you, David, I'd like to see the following goals accomplished within the following resources through my administration, and then you've got agency heads, including yourself as one of them, and you also got this job as Chief Operations Officer. Where do you go from there? How do you get people talking off the same or reading off the same book?
Well, what we've started doing right now is putting together an overall strategy. So, you know, we need to have an overall approach of how we will approach these projects. And this strategy will lay out a series of initiatives that we'll want to undertake that will be designed on both improving some productivity, improving some processes, reducing some costs. And then we also have to look at the productivity side of the organization. And, you know, what are some of the additional human resource types of programs we need to put in place to increase our employee productivity. And so, you know, just like in a business, you have to balance both of those initiatives, and it's important to balance both of those. And so when we put this plan together, then every agency will have an implementation, in essence, of how to do that. And I will sort of be the master planner, master scheduler of how the projects will work, and then in each agency we'll be putting implementation plans in place to make those projects work.
This is kind of a funny question, but what will Chief Operating Officer Wilkins say to Secretary Wilkins?
Well, he better be very good at this.
That was just kind of a...
No, but you know, DCF has been a little bit of the laboratory on some of these already, and so in a couple of these areas where we've implemented some of these changes in the last year, I think we can look at those as examples of this is how it could work, and learn from those opportunities.
With regard to the job you currently have, I'm sure there are those people who, some of whom might have been nervous about your coming into the Department of DCF, who maybe have decided that you've done a pretty fine job so far, that may be nervous about you moving into this new responsibility. I've seen some quotes who say, can he do both and sustain the momentum that has been initiated at the Department of Children and Families? What do you say to that?
Well, I think it's a fair question. You know, I do come from a business background where, you know, the goal of a business executive is to continue to take on more responsibility. That's how you grow a business. You know, whether you're buying new parts of a business or you're expanding the business organically. So, you know, my mindset of taking on new responsibility isn't, to me, that dramatic of a change. But to be successful, you know, I obviously have to have a great team, and I do have a great team at DCF. We have great leaders. We've put a whole series of projects in place. You know, my number one responsibility to DCF is to continue to be involved in those projects and make sure we don't lose that momentum. And so, you know, I will definitely be committed to doing that. And on the other side of the coin, you know, it's extremely important that, you know, the leadership and all the different agencies, you know, are stepping up to do that. And I already can tell that they are. You know, we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and we talked about how we would implement this, and the support I'm receiving from the other agencies is just magnificent.
You know, when you sit in positions like you have throughout your private sector career and now in state government, you have to think in abstractions like metrics and that sort of thing, economies of scale and improving efficiencies. But on the other hand, you've got to get people relating to you and people willing to deal with people in need a lot of times in state government. How do you connect the dots for us? How do you do both or connect between abstract concepts of higher management and people in need, which is, it's different from, you know, making profits. To me, it seems a little bit different, although I'm sure there are some real similarities.
Well, it's a great point, and it's probably been the most fascinating activity that I've encountered over the last year. You know, I was a manager, and you know, I learned to manage by the numbers. You know, they teach you that in all your business training and that type of thing. And so I brought that mindset to DCF, and we've really been able to apply a lot of that. You know, we put metrics in place for all of our different operations around the state, and we measure progress and track performance and compare.
Metrics means measurements, right?
Means measurements, right?
All right.
And so that's very good. But I think the big difference is, you know, you also have to manage with your heart. And, you know, they don't teach you that at business school. And, you know, so that for me has been probably the most fulfilling part of the job that you measure with, I mean, that you manage with your heart, but it's also the, you know, most trying, you know, just, you know, we just went through the Easter and Passover holidays, and, you know, I'm dealing with a child death on, you know, Easter morning. And, you know, it breaks your heart to know that, you know, these types of things are happening, and you know, you have to manage through those processes. But when you do manage with your heart and you manage with the metrics, I think you know, you gain a lot of credibility with people because they know that you're trying to balance the two, and there is a balance. And the balance means you'll never get it exactly right. But when people know that at least your heart's in the right spot and you're trying to make that balance work, then, you know, I think that's all they expect.